Okay, cool. So now in this session we're going to work on assembling this. So the thinking is pretty straightforward. You got to keep your eye on this model, and now's the time for you to start getting rid of things you don't need and start doing the job. So start from some place, and it's a good idea to start from the base and this and scale it to where you think is appropriate. And start assembling. Like this obviously is not complete because see there's more stuff to be done, but let's say it was. So now I would start taking this piece and start placing it. Now uh, there are a few things would have to do. Notice that when I select an object, its center point is way out in space. Like in fact each of the center points, not all, some are a little off. So what you do is this. Here's an easy way to move the center to this, the pivot to the center. It's, of course, you can manually do it by toggling insert and then moving it, which is not really necessary because there's an easier way. You simply select the object and you go to modify and say center pivot. Modify center pivot, and this for this also modify center pivot. Shortcut of doing the last operation you did was G. There. And might as well just do it for everything. Okay, cool. So that helps a lot nicely. So now it's simply a matter of you taking the time to assemble things. Now instead of doing the whole thing, I'm simply going to show you some tips and tricks. This is the time for you to have all your perspective, one perspective view and everything else being a non-perspective view. So none, show polygons. So I see only what matters. So here's a side profile, here's a front profile, and the top profile. So now you can start assembling things like this. Select this, move it out. Then when seen from here, you can tell exactly where it should be, position it exactly. Scaling, scale it to its appropriate size. Now let's say the wing nut was made separately, which it is. Let's say this is the wing nut. Then position it in place. Scale. Actually, this is not what's needed. This one. Assemble. And that's what you do. You just keep going, one piece at a time. And so make sure it's aligned in the front, it's aligned to the side, because you can see how this is not off, and it's not quite in the correct space. So if something is aligned on the top, front, and side, you can be sure that it's aligned correctly here. Now what about these other ones? So here's a tips and tricks. For something like this, easy way is to just shift its pivot to one of its ends. And you remember the shortcut. Press insert and then hold on V and simply middle mouse snap it. And then press insert once more. Then you can this can be rotated more effectively. It can even be snapped easily by holding down V and simply snap it. See, you can snap it to where you want it to go. So snap it, and I'm going to just press insert, rotate, and make all the adjustments. Now here's more tips and tricks. For you to move things along this axis, what you do is double click on this, on the move tool, and make sure that axis orientation is not in world but in object. So when it's an object, it moves along the length of the object. So that makes it much easier. And once you have one in place, you can duplicate it to create the second one. And once you have this in place, you can duplicate it and position it as the second one. Make sense? And you keep going. And now to position this, I would press insert, hold on V and middle mouse snap it. Then I would press insert again, so I'm off the pivot mode, so I'm in just normal movement mode, and press down V again and middle mouse snap it to where I need it to. I just find it an appropriate place, and then I can rotate it and rotate it and check its positioning from all the orthographic views, and we keep going. And that's how it goes.